Your doctor checks your blood pressure at every visit, takes about 5 seconds, wraps the cuff, presses a button, glances at the screen. Looks fine, they say, and that's it. But those two numbers contain 6 critical warnings about your future, whether you'll stay independent or end up in a nursing home, whether you'll keep your mind sharp or forget your own children's names, whether you'll wake up tomorrow or die in your sleep. I've watched perfectly healthy, independent people lose everything, not because they were terminally ill, because nobody taught them what their blood pressure was actually saying. Let me be blunt. Your body is screaming at you through these numbers, and you're not listening. This isn't about fancy tests or expensive technology. This is about 2 numbers you can measure at home for free. But nobody explains how to read them properly. Warning number 1, the pressure gap. Nobody calculates. Let me tell you about Robert. Robert was 72, a retired engineer who loved woodworking. Sharp guy, still building furniture in his garage. His blood pressure ran around 160/65 for 2 years. His doctor fixated on that top number. We need to get that 160 down. Added medications, changed doses, tried different combinations. That 160 wouldn't budge. But here's what everybody missed. Nobody subtracted 65 from 160. That gap, 95 points. And that number was screaming a warning that could have saved Robert's life. When you're young, your arteries are flexible. They expand when blood rushes through, then bounce back. Smooth, controlled pressure. The gap between your top and bottom numbers stays around 40 to 50 points. But Robert's arteries had turned stiff, like metal pipes. When his heart pumped, blood slammed into those rigid walls. Pressure spiked. That's his 160. Between beats, no elastic recoil to maintain pressure. It plummeted. That's his 65. That 95-point gap was screaming that his arteries were shot. And with every heartbeat, pressure waves were hammering straight into his brain. Robert felt fine. No symptoms. Then one Tuesday afternoon, working on a project, he couldn't speak. Words came out garbled. His right side went weak. His wife found him on the floor, confused, trying to talk, making only sounds. Massive stroke. Robert survived, but his right arm is useless now, the arm he used for everything. His speech is slurred. He struggles to find words. That sharp mind is trapped behind a brain that won't cooperate. His wife told me something that breaks my heart. He just sits in his garage looking at his tools. He can't use them anymore. It's like we lost him even though he's still here. That stroke was completely preventable. The warning sat in his blood pressure readings for 2 years. Here's what you need to know. Your pulse pressure is your top number minus your bottom number. Over 60 is concerning. Over 70 is dangerous. Over 80, you're in serious trouble. Over 90, like Robert, you're at extreme risk. The gap between your numbers speaks louder than the numbers themselves. This isn't just about stroke. A wide pulse pressure means your heart is exhausting itself fighting against rigid arteries. Every organ in your body is getting pounded. Your kidneys, your eyes, your brain. A study in the journal Hypertension followed 5,000 people over 65 for 8 years. Those with pulse pressure over 70 had double the stroke risk. Over 80, triple the risk. This calculation takes 3 seconds, but it's not part of standard protocol, so it gets missed, and people like Robert have strokes that were completely avoidable. Warning number 2, when your bottom number is too low. This one contradicts everything you've been told. Everyone worries about high blood pressure. Lower your numbers, prevent heart attacks, all that. But let me tell you something surprising. A bottom number that's too low is just as dangerous, maybe more dangerous, because nobody's watching for it. Helen was 76, a retired teacher who loved reading to her grandkids. She'd been on blood pressure medication for 15 years, doses gradually increasing. By the time I saw her, she was on 3 medications. Her reading was 145/55. Her doctor was pleased. That bottom number looks great. I looked at that 55 and saw danger. Here's what most people don't understand. Your bottom number, diastolic pressure, represents pressure when your heart rests between beats. And during that rest period, blood flows into your coronary arteries, the tiny vessels that feed your heart muscle with oxygen. Your heart needs constant oxygen. If your diastolic pressure is too low, blood flow into those coronary arteries drops. Simple physics. Low pressure equals low flow. When your heart doesn't get enough oxygen, it suffers silently. No pain, no warning. Just slow, progressive damage. We call it silent ischemia. Your heart is suffocating and you have no clue. Helen lived with a diastolic of 55 for 3 years. 3 years of her heart not getting enough oxygen. 3 years of damage piling up. She never had chest pain or shortness of breath. Felt fine. Until one morning making breakfast when crushing pressure hit her chest. She couldn't breathe. Sweating, terrified, she managed to call 911. Massive heart attack. A huge chunk of her heart muscle was already dead. We did emergency catheterization to look at her coronary arteries. And here's the thing. Her arteries weren't even that blocked. One vessel had maybe 50% narrowing. In someone with normal diastolic pressure, that wouldn't cause a heart attack. But Helen's chronically low diastolic had created a situation where even moderate blockages were catastrophic. Helen survived, but her heart is damaged. She gets tired easily. Can't garden like before. Has to be careful not to overexert. Simple joys now exhaust her. All preventable if someone had recognized 3 years earlier that her diastolic of 55 was dangerous. A major study in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology looked at 11,000 people with coronary artery disease. Those with diastolic under 60 had 49% higher heart attack risk. Under 50, risk more than doubled. Here's the cruel part. When doctors prescribe multiple blood pressure medications, they lower both numbers. They see a systolic of 145 and add another pill. Great, now it's 130. But they also drop the diastolic from 65 to 50. They've created a new danger while fixing the old one. And because everyone focuses on the top number, nobody notices the bottom number has become life-threatening. If you're on multiple medications and your diastolic is consistently under 60, talk to your doctor. Your doses might need adjustment. Warning number 3. When your pressure suddenly won't cooperate. When blood pressure that's been controlled for years suddenly goes haywire, your kidneys are in trouble and time is running out. Thomas was 69. For 15 years, his pressure had been perfect on one medication, 125/78, textbook perfect. Then something changed. Over 3 months, his pressure started climbing. 140/85, then 155/92, then 165/98. His doctor increased medication. Didn't help. Added a second medication. Pressure came down briefly, then climbed back. Added a third medication. Still climbing. 175/102, then 180/106. They called it resistant hypertension and kept adding pills. 4th medication, 5th medication. Nothing worked. But here's what nobody asked. Why? Thomas's pressure had been controlled for 15 years. Same medication, same dose, same lifestyle. Then suddenly it goes berserk. This isn't just resistant hypertension. This is your body screaming that something is seriously wrong. In Thomas's case, his kidneys were screaming. Your kidneys have their own blood supply through renal arteries. These can narrow from cholesterol buildup, just like any artery. When they narrow, your kidneys don't get enough blood. Your kidneys are smart organs. When they don't get enough blood, they think your whole body is in shock. They think your blood pressure has dropped dangerously. So they activate an emergency system. They release hormones, renin and angiotensin, that squeeze blood vessels throughout your body and tell your kidneys to hold on to salt and water. Goal: raise pressure to restore kidney blood flow. But when the problem is narrowed kidney arteries, raising overall pressure doesn't fix anything. The narrowing is still there, so your kidneys keep releasing hormones, driving pressure higher and higher, desperately trying to force blood through those narrowed arteries. Vicious cycle. High pressure damages kidneys further. Damaged kidneys release more hormones, pressure climbs higher, and you're on 5 medications that aren't addressing the root cause. Thomas's kidneys were screaming through his blood pressure readings, but everyone just focused on getting the numbers down. Nobody asked why they'd suddenly gone up. It took 6 months before someone finally ordered an ultrasound of his kidney arteries. By then, his right kidney had shriveled up, small, scarred, barely functioning. His left kidney was compensating, but under tremendous strain. If they'd caught it earlier, they could have opened those arteries with a procedure, could have saved his kidney function. Now Thomas faces progressive kidney decline. He'll probably need dialysis eventually, 3 times a week, 4 hours at a time, hooked to a machine. His independence, his freedom, gone. About 10 to 20% of resistant hypertension is caused by renal artery problems, but it's massively underdiagnosed. Doctors just keep adding medications. If your pressure was controlled and suddenly becomes uncontrollable, demand investigation. Ultrasound of kidney arteries. Non-invasive, painless, could reveal a fixable problem before permanent damage. Other causes include adrenal tumors, secreting hormones, or severe sleep apnea. The point is, sudden uncontrollable pressure is a symptom of something that needs to be found and fixed. Warning number 4, what your nighttime pressure reveals. Your blood pressure should drop 10 to 20% while you sleep. This is called nocturnal dipping, your body's way of giving your heart and vessels a rest. They work hard all day. They need that nightly break. But some people don't dip. Their nighttime pressure stays high, or worse, actually rises at night. This pattern powerfully predicts stroke, kidney disease, and hidden diabetes. Margaret was 71, a retired accountant who meticulously tracked her health. She checked pressure twice daily, kept perfect logs. Morning, 128/80. Evening, 132/82. Right in the normal range. Her doctor was pleased, but Margaret felt awful, exhausted all the time, woke up feeling like she hadn't slept, and she got up to pee 4 or 5 times every night. She mentioned this to her doctor. He said probably just age, maybe overactive bladder, offered medication, but something bothered me. The fatigue, the constant nighttime urination, feeling worse in the morning than evening. I ordered a 24-hour ambulatory pressure monitor. Checks your pressure every 20 minutes around the clock, including sleep. The results were shocking. Margaret's daytime pressure looked fine, but at night, 165/98, higher at night than during the day. This is called reverse dipping, and it's extremely dangerous. Why? I did more testing. Fasting blood sugar was normal. Hemoglobin A1C slightly elevated but not diabetic. Standard screening said pre-diabetic at most. I went deeper. Put a continuous glucose monitor on her for 2 weeks. Checks blood sugar every 5 minutes, day and night. It revealed the truth. Margaret's blood sugar during the day was fine. But at night, while she slept, it spiked over 200. She had nocturnal hyperglycemia, hidden diabetes that only showed up at night. High blood sugar forces kidneys to work overtime, filtering excess glucose and dumping it into urine. That's why Margaret was peeing constantly at night. But high blood sugar also activates stress hormones. This keeps pressure elevated. So instead of dipping, Margaret's pressure stayed high because her body was in constant metabolic stress. We treated her nighttime blood sugar. Within 2 weeks, her pressure normalized at night. She started dipping properly. Frequent urination stopped. Energy came back. She felt like a different person. But here's the critical point. If we'd only checked her pressure during the day, we would have missed this completely. Standard diabetes screening would have missed it. This is why symptoms matter. Frequent nighttime urination, unexplained fatigue, poor sleep despite sleeping enough. These are clues something's wrong at night. Studies show people who don't dip properly at night have 3 times the stroke risk. Their brains are getting hammered with pressure 24/7. No rest, no recovery. Eventually, something gives. Warning number 5. When your pressure swings wildly. Healthy blood pressure fluctuates, goes up with activity, down with rest, up with stress, down when you relax. Normal. But some people have chaotic swings. 110 over 65 one morning, 180 over 103 hours later, 120 over 70 the next day, 175 over 95 the day after. This isn't normal variation. This is blood pressure variability, and it's destroying brains. Richard was 74, a retired architect who loved data. He checked pressure 3 times daily, kept meticulous spreadsheets. He came to me because his numbers were chaos. One day, 108/62. Next day, 192/108. His doctor kept adjusting medications. Nothing stabilized him. We discovered Richard had autonomic dysfunction. His autonomic nervous system, the part that regulates pressure smoothly and automatically, wasn't working. Every time he stood up, pressure would plummet. He'd feel dizzy, lightheaded. Then his body would panic and overcompensate, flooding him with adrenaline, and pressure would shoot way too high. Every meal, same thing. His system had lost all ability to regulate smoothly. Here's why this is catastrophic for your brain. Studies show pressure variability is one of the strongest predictors of dementia, stronger than average pressure level. One study followed 5,500 people for 25 years. Those with high variability had 46% higher dementia risk. The constant swings damage small blood vessels in the brain. They rupture, they leak, they cause silent strokes, tiny areas of dead brain tissue that accumulate. You don't feel these happening, no symptoms, but slowly your brain is being destroyed. Richard started having memory problems within a year, forgetting where he put things, losing his train of thought. By 18 months, real cognitive decline. He'd tell the same story 3 times in one conversation. Forget appointments. Get lost driving to familiar places. We did an MRI. His brain showed extensive white matter damage, hundreds of tiny old strokes scattered throughout, all caused by years of pressure hammering and dropping, killing brain cells bit by bit. Could we have prevented it? If we'd recognized the variability earlier, if we'd focused on stabilizing his pressure instead of just lowering it, maybe. But by the time we understood what was happening, significant damage had occurred. Here's how you know if you have dangerous variability. Check pressure at the same times daily for 2 weeks. Look at the range. If your top number varies by more than 20 points day to day, that's concerning. More than 30 points, dangerous. What causes it? Autonomic dysfunction from diabetes or nerve damage, wrong medication doses, dehydration, sleep apnea, untreated anxiety. It needs to be found and fixed because your brain is paying the price every day. Warning number 6, the arm difference that could kill you tonight. This is the most critical warning, and you need to act today. Most people never check both arms. They use one arm every time. But this is a massive mistake, because if there's more than a 10-point difference between your arms, that's not normal. That's a medical emergency. Dorothy was 73. For 10 years, she'd checked pressure on her left arm every morning. Same routine. Her readings were good, 125/78. She felt healthy. Then she went for her annual physical. New doctor. This doctor did something Dorothy's old doctor never did, checked both arms. Left arm, 125/78. Right arm, 180/105. 55 points different. This is not one arm reads a bit different. This is an emergency. The doctor immediately sent Dorothy for vascular imaging. The results were terrifying. Dorothy had severe atherosclerosis. The artery supplying her right arm, the subclavian artery, was 90% blocked. That's why her right arm pressure was so high. Her body was generating massive pressure to force blood through that tiny opening. But that wasn't the worst part. The same disease blocking her arm artery was also blocking the artery going to her brain. Her left carotid artery, the main vessel supplying the left side of her brain, was 80% blocked. Dorothy was walking around with a time bomb in her neck. That blockage could rupture, send a clot to her brain. She could have a massive stroke any day, lose the ability to speak, move, recognize family, or die. And nobody would have seen it coming because her left arm pressure was fine. Here's what a pressure difference between arms means. You have atherosclerosis severe enough to significantly obstruct blood flow. If it's blocking one arm, it's almost certainly blocking other arteries, brain, kidneys, heart, legs. You have systemic vascular disease, life-threatening. A study in The Lancet looked at 28,000 people. Those with a 15-point arm difference had 60% higher risk of cardiovascular death, higher stroke risk, higher amputation risk. Dorothy had no symptoms, none. Felt completely normal. The blockages weren't causing pain or weakness. The only clue was the pressure difference. Dorothy had surgery, carotid endarterectomy. They opened her neck, cleaned out the blockage, restored blood flow. Big surgery, real risks. But not doing it was a bigger risk. She survived. She recovered. She didn't have the stroke, but only because someone checked both arms. Here's what you need to do right now. Check your pressure on both arms today. More than 10 points difference? Call your doctor tomorrow morning. More than 15 points? Call today. More than 20 points? Go to the emergency room. Don't wait. Your action plan. Let me summarize all 6 warnings. Pulse pressure over 70, stiff arteries, high stroke risk, diastolic under 60. Your heart isn't getting enough blood. Suddenly uncontrollable pressure. Something serious is wrong. Kidneys, hormones, sleep apnea, no nighttime dipping, hidden diabetes destroying you, excessive variability, silent strokes killing your brain, arm difference, advanced disease requiring immediate treatment. These warnings are in your readings right now. You just have to look. Here's what to do. First, get a quality home blood pressure monitor. Upper arm cuff, not wrist. Check same times daily, morning and evening. Second, check both arms weekly. Record both readings. Watch for differences. Third, calculate your pulse pressure every time, top minus bottom. Over 70, tell your doctor. Fourth, watch your diastolic. Consistently under 60, your medications probably need adjustment. Fifth, track patterns. Keep a log. Look for excessive variability. Sixth, if you have symptoms like nighttime urination, fatigue, or memory problems, ask about 24-hour monitoring. Seventh, bring your logs to appointments. Make your doctor look at them. Ask questions. Why is my pulse pressure so high? Why does my diastolic keep dropping? Why haven't we checked both arms? These questions could save your life. If this presentation opened your eyes, share it. Hit that like button and help. We reach more people who need this information. Don't let warnings go unheeded. Your pressure is talking. Make sure you're listening. Thank you for watching. Take care of yourself. I'll see you in the next presentation, where we continue exploring the health truths that could keep you living the existence you love.